Well, let's start. I'm going to kind of begin here. So I want to thank Dana and Tina and the reunion chair, Rachel Zake-Ozen, and of course, our Alumni Council President, Catherine Herrick-Levy, and our Vice President, Elizabeth Falco, for your leadership. Gosh, in a year that we've had to reimagine pretty much everything at school, this team's energy, enthusiasm, and can-do attitude about this reunion is really inspiring. We are rising boldly to the challenges, and they've done a fine job, and I'm heartfeltly grateful. So thank you. And so I kind of wanted to give a sense of what the last 12 months have been here at HB to kind of bring you up to speed. Certainly, it's been a time. This last year, we have needed that sisterhood, that connection, more than ever. In 2020, we closed up the year, obviously virtually, not having had an alumni reunion last year, but also not being able to have even graduations. We had 85 seniors last year, and the director of the upper school, Hallie Ritzman, and I, over Memorial Day weekend last year, graduated each senior individually, witnessed by their family. And it was beautiful, but it was that whole kind of class together, that moment where you're all together. And so many of these reunions and these Zooms where you've gotten together have really been meaningful. And I think the alums did a beautiful job writing letters to the graduates. And I think Dana Capers also did an outreach this year to see if folks could write letters to this year's graduates, because that sisterhood, that kind of connection is so important. Then last year, in June, we lost 2 students. They were sisters in a tragic accident, Chasey and Scout Scaravelli, rising 7th and rising 9th graders. And really was a very devastating moment for all of us, for our whole community. And nearly at the same time, we had and heard so many strong voices of our alumni on the experience of Black, Brown, and LGBTQ and some scholarship students on their HB years. Stories that were and are really hard to hear, because we want to be a caring community that people feel a sense of belonging. And we really needed to listen and honor their experiences and figure out how we can do better. And so it was kind of a hard start to the summer. And then ambitiously, we also embarked on a major capital restoration project of our classic building at the same time that we basically had to COVIDize the campus, changing nearly every room to ensure safety. And then, of course, sprinkle in there a presidential election, and then trying to build the trust for families to send their children to school, and having virtual classes and in-person classes. It has been a really amazingly beautiful year, but one that has taken a lot of grace, a lot of teamwork, and just a lot of heart. And so every year it has its challenges, but this one really made us realize why we need institutions like HB. We really need these values, this belief that girls and women have unbounded possibilities and capabilities. And, we really have excellence in education and that connection as a family. And that sustained us and was really, really an anchor. And so I am deeply grateful for all the support, both of the alums, of the current students, and certainly faculty and staff, trustees, and parents. Part of my update, I do want to say in thank you to the alums and announce the reunion giving competition winners. A very special part of Each alumni weekend is the reunion giving competitions, which are much more about, just participation than coming out on top, although there is that competitive edge. Now, of course, the annual fund is crucial to day-to-day operations and budgetary support, and certainly help create these programs that help the girls go from good to great and become the best versions of themselves. And so I'm thankful for your participation. So the Young Alumnae Participation Award recognizes the class up to 15 years from graduation with the highest participation. This year, the classes 2006, 2011, and 2016 battled for this award. And the class of 2006 came up on top with 21% annual fund participation. So thank you. The class contributing with the most dollars to the annual fund is presented with the prestigious HB Alumnae Association Past President's Bowl. And it's this year, the class of 1956 has given over $79,000 to the annual fund. So thank you to the class of 1956. And finally, the class with the highest percentage of annual fund participation is usually served champagne at our special alumni weekend celebrations. And although we can't be obviously live and doing that, we'll hold it for you. But the class of 1986 wins that with 74% participation. So congratulations to those classes. Class of 2006, 1956, and 1986. All right, back to the state of the school. So I wanted to talk a little bit about construction, hoping you were able to see that tour I have online. I think it's up on the alumni part of the website. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about insights that we've garnered from the pandemic and what we've learned, a little bit about our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And then the highlight again we're going to talk to some students as well. So construction update. Well, when I arrived in 2016, one of the top priorities that the trustees had was to optimize the campus. There were many areas, specifically some systems that really needed to kind of get into the 21st century. And so we looked holistically at that master plan and started to kind of check off a few of these projects. The first one, which sounds silly, but you have a first mover when you're looking at a master plan, was to expand some parking in the Cortland lot. And that enabled us then, I should say this, when we did expand the parking, we really wanted to do that environmentally. And so we used sustainable practice called permeable asphalt. And we also looked at how we could have native plants and create drainage so that we could be good stewards of Doan Brook. So it's not just expanding the parking. It really is holistically looking at about how we can care for every piece and every part of our campus. And so once we were able to do that, we did build a maintenance building. And that was an important initial investment because we really want to take care of this campus and really needed a 21st century maintenance building. And all that entails, whether it's, welding and washing and just having all of those specialty tools to be able to care for this all. And so once we did that, we were able to take down the pony barn, which I know is a big piece of our past and historically, a beautiful structure. It actually had not really fared years very well. And so it really needed some major work, and probably the best and highest use of our time was to take that down. And then, of course, it opened up the possibility of having another regulation size field here on our campus. So lots of moving parts at the beginning. Last March, we really made a bold decision that, knowing we were in a pandemic, we decided to move forward with the 4-phased classic building renovation. And the students and the faculty have been very involved in this. And really our focus was, how do we make sure we can have distinguished academics, knowledge and action, and feel the girls empowered and being a part of this celebrated community? How does our architecture modernize and yet preserve the historic nature of the building? And it has been amazing what Graham Gund of that Boston firm that has really been guiding much of our structures and thoughtfulness about our architecture over the last 20 years. So phase one was this first north hallway, and it's opened. You walk in, there's a whole new waiting room and admission suite, beautiful lighting. The light from one side of the building is connected to the other side. Lots of amazing places for girls to kind of hang and be together. Phase two was the math wing, which I think also might have been the middle school wing at some point, which houses now the college counseling and has a living room in there, some specialty offices, and beautiful classrooms with whiteboard walls and high technology. It really is spectacular. Right now, we have some demo going on the second floor. We hope that that will be open by August. And then the last piece of this is the West Wing, and that really won't be done until about October 1st, which we hope to really celebrate that weekend, a big opening. But the collaboration spaces, flexibility of classrooms, all of this is really coming to alive here, and exactly as we anticipated. So we're really excited about that. The next frontier, probably early childhood and prime. Those programs also need significant enhancements and structural upgrades, HVAC systems, fire suppression, just a whole new, lighting, and how we can be environmental with every piece of this and be more efficient, more focused on all of those choices in an old building that really will allow for us to be good stewards of the land, of our environment. And so I thank those folks, those early donors who've made some contributions to that. It's really been transformative for the girls here. So thank you. End of the year plans. As we look forward, tonight is prom, as I mentioned, at First Energy Stadium. Excited that the seniors will have an opportunity to be together. I think this may be the third or fourth time that the whole class will have, if they're all there, but an opportunity for the whole class to be together. We really, because of COVID, have not had that. That is something really special. The girls voted on graduation, whether to have it here in graduation courtyard or in the backyard by the fountain, or somewhere downtown where we could guarantee that date and time. Because I think today, if we have it here, which is what the girls voted for, we could only do it in a sunny day. So, but we will celebrate our 145th commencement exercises. And India Pierce Lee, who is the vice president of the Cleveland Foundation, is our speaker. It'll be it will be really a celebration, and I'm excited for the seniors. The pandemic insights. Gosh, we have learned so much about ourselves and the HB community during this COVID year, and I've coined some new terms. COVID-ize, I guess, means to really arrange furniture in a way that's safe distance. Redensify was another word as to how to work the dining hall, or get, when we had so many teachers vaccinated, how we could kind of go back a little bit more towards normal. We bought new cleaning equipment. So Clorox 360 is the name of a machine. I think we've used this as a verb many times, but we've really been in session over 90% of the school year. There was only a moment between Thanksgiving and the winter holidays that we went virtual, but for the most part, we've been in session. Students, families had choices whether to go virtual, but we've really made that a high priority to be here. learn here on campus as safely as possible. And we had no COVID transmission on campus. And that was due in large part to Sherry Hominy, the associate head of school. I called her my COVID captain. And she really did an amazing job networking with all the communities here, the hospitals, Cleveland Clinic and university hospitals, as well as physicians and leaders nationally, to really help us use the data to execute a safe practice and protocols for school. So I'm really grateful for all that hard work. And the trust that the families and the teachers put into us as we use that data. But we learned a couple things about teaching and learning too. First, one of the lessons that I think is most important is that girls' schools, specifically girls' schools, create such a deep culture and authentic love of learning that is so powerful that it really does and has proven, and we have the data to prevent learning loss. So there's clearly these cultural connections between, social emotional learning, that those relationships with your teachers, and achievement. The National Coalition of Girls Schools has done a lot of research, as it has the Education Record Bureau, and they have tracked learning loss, and what that meant across different campuses, both in independent schools and public schools. And of all the groups out there, the one group, girls' schools, had the least amount of potential learning loss, and in some cases actually had learning growth. So that was really interesting to understand that data. There'll be more research on that, and I look forward to sharing that with you. Secondly is HB's teachers have gone above and beyond this year, providing our girls an incredibly distinguished academic experience. But they're even more insightful and perhaps even better educators than before. They're exhausted educators, but they're better because they have had to make choices about, time, coverage, how assessments work virtually, how to put knowledge in action when you didn't have the same opportunities as before. And they really intentionally balanced, screen time with hands-on and outdoor time, if you think of those early childhood learners and even in the prime, and just really distilled learning and understanding in our culture in ways that were magical. It was a tremendous year, and it was due in large part to the extraordinary collegiality, shared insights, and just an amazing professional group of people. So I am so proud and humbled by how hard they've worked and how much they've gained. And finally, if I look back at the year and think of COVID, our girls need each other. They need to be with each other. They need adults beyond their parents who can be supportive of them. They need in-person, probably more than they need social media, although I'm sure they want social media more than they want in person. And that our school community is stronger when we're together in person. We are an in-person school, and that's where our magic is. And that's certainly what our girls have needed. And we've been able to provide that to them in ways that have really helped them grow. And so I'm look back on this year, and I'm very proud of all the really amazing work that has been done. I also am proud of our work with diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. It's a top priority, and it's every member of our community's responsibility. And really building this sense of belonging requires an active effort from all. And that's that lesson 3 learned. We really had to make sure each girl coming in every day felt connection to school, to what they were learning, to their friends, and to our traditions. And so it's really been important. I bet HB looks a little different, not just a little, maybe profoundly different from when some of you may have been here. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about how diverse, or what diversity looks like here today in 2021. We have girls from 80 different towns across Northeast Ohio, so incredible geographic diversity. There are over 30 different languages spoken in the homes of HB families, which I think is also an amazing statistic. 43% of our student body do not identify as white. We have over 12 religions, different religious affiliations of the students who attend HB. We have a very full and wide political spectrum here, which is a real strength that you have to, in building a diversity of thought or understanding, you have to listen and hear others in authentic ways in a classroom together. And I think that has been really, really important and an anchor for us. And, we have many students who, just see that our worldly have a different perspective. We have LGBTQ plus students, and of course, what's unique about HB is even age. We have 6-week-old little ones in the ITC all the way up to 18 years old students. So our diversity is broad. And Tony Cross is we created a new position between last year and this year, kind of anticipating we really needed to understand and be better at intentionally creating this sense of belonging. Tony Cross is now the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Student Life. And she actually is going to give a specific address at 2 p.m. in more detail. She's been tremendous to partner with, and I'm very grateful for her leadership in how she's able to provide professional development for all of our faculty and staff, and really some amazing opportunities for the girls to connect as well. So a couple things in highlights. First is our board has a student and faculty life committee, and they really wanted to know how our students are thriving and flourishing. What does that look like? And are there any students that aren't? And might those students all fall in certain categories? And they created a very thoughtful homegrown survey that all the upper school students did to kind of test those theories, to figure out what does that look like. And the insights garnered from that research have really created a data plan or data to plan how we can do better. And so we are committed to doing that survey and that research every year so that we can know who's thriving and flourishing and who may not be, and how we can work better to make sure that everybody has those opportunities who attend HB. So that was just for the upper school. We're also going to use some data garnered from other surveys we've done in middle school to get a sense of that as well. So that's really expanding. Our diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging leadership is really a decentralized model. Every division has kind of a point person, and our staff member also has a point person as well. And we really have found that really creates a lot of access and opportunities for some peer conversations and peer mentoring, and even professional development that works really well. So we really have been innovative on that. That's unique in that structure across independent schools. And I'm really proud that we have that innovation. In terms of hiring, we partner with a national diversity recruitment and consulting firm. And we've really looked at how we can attract and retain more faculty who do not identify as white. It's certainly a priority for us. We know that we need certainly a lot more of that representative on our faculty and staff. And so we're continuing to work with those firms to do that. It's a very competitive marketplace, but it's of our highest priority. And we've actually hired quite a few new faculty for next year who do not identify as white. And we're excited about them and integrating them into our community. We've done a lot of professional development. We've read a great book called The Racial Healing Handbook, a very thoughtful journaling type book, reflective, about identity and how our perceptions and our biases might be connected in that way. And it's been really a graceful way of engaging with colleagues in asking questions. Very great. Kind of just, it's like a book club, and it's really been that healthy dialogue. We also attend many conferences, and gosh, so many of them have come online, which has been great for access. So the People of Color Conference, which is part of the National Association of Independent Schools, we had about 6 or 7 trustees attend that as well, which is just terrific. Glad to have lots of great perspectives of what's going on outside kind of come into HB as well. And this weekend, we're relaunching the Alum of Color group, and we're taking steps to explore additional affinity groups. And this relaunch is intended to be a model for creating and sustaining new groups in the future. We have many groups in our student body, I think over 13 different affinity groups in middle and upper school. And they've really been fun little kind of mini families and connections for also for little girls and big girls to, or students, older students and younger students, to find that mentoring moment as well in a peer-to-peer way. So when we look back on our history about these 5 girls, as you well know, knocking on the door, demanding to be educated in a space that was previously denied to them as women, we kind of know that that's a part of our a big part of who we are, is to kind of make sure that that belonging piece defines our culture. And I'm excited about that future. So on that note, it's probably time to introduce and have our students come in, because I've got lots of questions for them. But there, of course, would be able to tell you with even more detail the state of the school. Desi and Susie, would you like to join me? Good question. What percentage, and thanks for asking questions. You can put questions in the chat, and I'm more than happy to take questions. What percentage of our faculty and staff identify as non-white now? And I would say it's probably 14%, pretty low. And it's different in different divisions. Our upper school has much more diversity, and our early childhood and prime has the least. And then if you look at our staff, it is probably the most diverse. So different, it's very different in different divisions, but I'm going to say it's about 15%. But Dana, you can text me if I'm wrong on that one. Maybe, yeah, I'm going to say 15-20% now that I'm thinking through, probably 15. Great. Desi, Susie, welcome. Thanks for spending your Saturday afternoon yet again on a Zoom at school or on a webinar at school. Can you just tell everyone who you are and what year you came to HB, and just a little bit about yourselves as we start?
I can go first.
Yeah,
so,
great.
I'm Desiree, but most people just call me Desi. I came to HB freshman year. That was my first year ever being at HB. And currently I am a junior, soon to be a senior this year.
Great. And Desi's claim to fame, by the way, is as a sophomore, we wanted to make sure that we were singing the alma mater in every morning meeting. And everybody tapped Desi to lead that. So you are a soulful singer, you are an actress extraordinaire, and you are the rising Senate president. So you were very humble in who you are, but you've done a beautiful job in leadership at HB. I'm grateful. Susie.
Hi, I'm Susie. I am also a rising senior. I'm currently a junior. I also came to HB as a freshman. Desi was one of my first friends. Yeah, I've really enjoyed my time so far. I'm really glad to be here.
Well, and Susie, you too are being humble. You are the rising co-chair of the carnival, which is a big deal, and certainly a year-long leadership moment. And you hold a job down outside of school besides doing all sorts of academics. We were talking earlier about what Susie's summer plans were. And she said, I'm going to take an economics class while working at Mitchell's. So I think that's, having a lot to do and juggling it well is what our HB girls do seemingly naturally. So thank you. So here we have, we have 36 alums on right now. And probably they want to know a little bit about how was the school year? What did you learn or what did you like best? And I know that you guys toggled a little bit with virtual and in-person classes. Give us a 2 or 3 sentences about, I know that's a lot, or not, that's not a lot, so it's hard to do, but about your experience academically this year. So what was your favorite classes and how did you find the virtual versus in-person, this year? Classes were pretty different because it was much longer blocks, right?
I'll start with this one. So it certainly was a different experience. Like, we'd never really done 1.5-hour classes before. So like, I was kind of scared at first just because, it's kind of double what I was used to. But I would say probably like some of my favorite class this year was my AP Lang class, because it was one of the ones that it didn't really change very much. It was still a very like collaborative environment where everyone was like free to speak, when like compared to like math class, it's a little bit harder to collaborate when you're on Zoom and stuff like that. But I've been in person most of the year, and even with like COVID precautions and everything, like teachers have been doing a fantastic job of making everything like still a collaborative environment. So I think it's been going pretty well so far.
That's great. Desi, how about you?
So I mean, I definitely say that like at first it was a little difficult, and just because it's like something we're not used to, and like learning online, not everyone learn, like, I don't know, it's just different to have to learn that way. And I think HB did do a really good job of making it feel normal in a time that's not normal, if that makes sense. So I think that was one of the strong suits. And personally, a class that I thought would have been super hard to like learn in was math, but surprisingly, I actually did my best this year in math class. I did not expect that, but that's all right. There's growth, and I just think it was interesting to see how a class that I was actually not that confident in at one point, and that my skills hadn't really like flourished yet. I think it was interesting to see how this year that happened. And yeah, so math was definitely one of those classes for me that surprisingly went really good this year. And even like we talk about like time in classes and stuff, to me honestly that doesn't really have like an impact now as much as I thought it would have. I've gotten used to it. I'm sure Susie can attest to that. At first it's like, dang, like, these classes are so long, but now they don't really feel that long. And when we go back to having these shorter classes, I feel like those are just going to go by so fast. But, this year has been a journey, but I think overall, like, it's been like a smooth one for the most part at HB. So,
yeah. Yeah. And so for the alums on, one of the things that we were intentionally thinking through was usually you have 6, 8, 9 classes as an upper schooler. So you're changing classes all the time. And because we couldn't clean the rooms quick enough, or we really needed to think through how many spaces with how many new people in those spaces. So we really went to a collegiate model of classes. So that you had 4 classes a day. Versus 8 classes a day, so cutting down the number of rooms you would be in, the number of people you would meet. So you would really think through, potential exposure to COVID, how much people could be in quarantine. And so it really did change the academic experience tremendously. So that's some insight into both Susie and Desi's words, that it was really quite a very different year at HB. But clearly a great year for math. Go Desi. So another thing, Desi, and Susie, is we didn't really have the same traditions this year, right? I mean, we missed our Legacy Day. EDO was very different because it was a drive-through. Can you tell me, when you look at as rising leaders, what is your favorite HB tradition? And what did you miss most? It could be 2 different things, right? So what's your favorite tradition that you think really is important to HB? And what did you miss the most this year? Desi, why don't you start?
Okay. So this has been like when I first came to HB, obviously I didn't really realize that there were so many traditions, and I love them all. But my favorite is probably Show the Love, because I just think it's such a good time to network and like get to know the students like throughout the school and just kind of show appreciation. And we really didn't get to do it how we normally would have this year because I'm on like Senate. I don't know if you all know what Senate is, but basically the co-presidents and like the grade and stuff like that, they all work together to help these traditions like be continue to be pushed forth throughout the building in the school. But yeah, Show the Love has just always been my favorite, and I just think it's really important to have. So although it looked different this year, I think it was still important to show that appreciation that we have for the teachers and our fellow classmates. So
That's great. Susie, how about you?
So my favorite has definitely been Light the Night. I have an older sister who graduated from HB last year, so I would even go with her like before I was even a student here. So I'd been going to it for a while, and I thought it was a fantastic time because I was able to meet so many people, and I was really sad we weren't able to have stuff like that because it's just such a fun night. And so I mean like I'm super excited for hopefully it to continue next year and like I don't know. I think it's just like such a fun time to like unify athletics and generally like the musical does like a teaser and stuff like that. Does he always killing it in the musical? So yeah, that's probably my favorite.
Yeah, those are good ones. And, I think one of the reasons we're excited to have a kind of an open house, the official opening of the newly restored classic building will happen at Light the Night on October 1st next year. So look forward to your senior leadership will be really important because we're not just going to have, Light the Night as usual. It's going to be Light the Night and come see the new classic building. So that'll be a double whammy, which will be really great, Susie. So one of the things, and I have a Vimeo, but maybe I'll show it at the end of this because it's so fun to chat with you guys both. So one of the signature pieces of HB are our fellowships, which used to be called the centers, right? But they're basically moments where you take your knowledge in the classroom and put it in action in the community, in a lab, writing a magazine, a journal, or a book, or doing some sort of authentic project, a Stranad. Are you involved in any of those fellowships? And if so, can you tell us a little bit about your experience? Susie, why don't you start?
Sure. So I love all the classes at HB, so I'm involved in actually quite a bit of centers. So I'm actually involved in 5. I'm part of the writing center with Mr. Parsons. I actually joined this year, but I thought it was a great idea because it was just fun writing, like just expressing yourself through writing. I'm part of the visual arts department. I'm super excited to take advanced studio art next year. I've always loved like drawing and painting, all that stuff. I'm also part of the SREP, Science Research and Engineering program. I work in a lab down at university hospitals. I do a bunch of computer programming and stuff like that there. Been participating in advanced judging since my sophomore year. I'm part of the Technology and Innovation Center. I don't really know if that's like entirely like a center, but I know it's like a designation that you can get. I'm really heavily involved on the robotics team, so I'm kind of more interested in like computer science and engineering type stuff. And also part of the Center for Global Citizenship with Mr. Cheney took over it. His class is always really engaging. He always has something new to say, and he always begins with some kind of music from around the world, which I think is fun.
That's great. Desi, how about you?
So to pick up where Susie left off, I am also a part of the Global Citizenship Center at our school, also known as Global Scholars. I joined the class as a freshman, and I've loved it ever since. I was not the type of person to really be aware of everything that was going on in the world, and then I got to HB, and I was able to get a full understanding of the issues that other countries face and the problems that they're working to solve. And I think that within itself is just really good to have that enlightenment. And so I'm really thankful for that class. So that center. Then I also have a social justice designation that I'm working on. I just like that designation because I think it gives you an opportunity to give back to the community that you're in and the communities that surround you. So that's why I think it's personally such a great designation. And then also, I'm in the vocal arts department at our school, so we'll be getting a vocal arts designation. And within that, just developing maybe EPs, albums, songs. We'll see what that entails, but we don't know yet, and that's all right. So yeah, but I'm only in 3, and I love them all. So yeah.
That's great. That's great. Can I, Desi, let me ask, because one of the questions up here is an interesting one and may relate a little bit to your social justice one and your community service that you do or your connections to Cleveland. One of our alums, Helen, says, how is HB viewed in Cleveland in the community and, with other independent schools? And, what are if you, as a leader, where do you think people perceive us? Where are our challenges? Or maybe you just want to say how we're perceived.
Okay. So I joined social justice, the class this year, but in the past, and we didn't really, it looked a lot different this year about what we could do because of COVID and all the restrictions. But in the previous years, I believe that HB has really helped out a lot of different communities and a lot that surround our community, like the Shaker Heights community. But like I know there's a school called I believe Sunbeam. And I know that in the past, HB has actually gone to the school and they've had the orchestra go there and like play instruments and just give them a performance and play with them and their instruments and stuff. And I think that that's one of the most wonderful things that I actually remember happening. And this year, it really for us social justice looked a lot different, but I still do believe that HB is still viewed as very helpful to the communities that surround them. So yeah.
Yep. Susie, do you have any insight in that about how HB is viewed in the general community?
Yeah, I mean, I came my freshman year, and my entire middle school friend group ended up at different high schools. And the one thing like I do hear about is how HB is like really representative of diversity. That's like the one thing I hear about. They're like, yeah, like some of the other schools in the area aren't as us, and I consider it such a blessing to be able to meet so many different people from so many different backgrounds.
Yeah, that's interesting and probably pretty different from some of the alum experiences. We, I hear that too, that we're probably among the most diverse, if not the most diverse independent school in Cleveland. And I think, that's really important to what we want, right? In many ways, the global scholar kind of thing. We want diversity because we want to hear strong voices of great rising leaders and have them have great conversations here with amazing teachers. That's the kind of the future. That's great. How about let's take a couple other questions about traditions, about Light the Night is kind of this great community picnic, early childhood through grade 12. And there's just a lot of students and a lot of families. It's kind of like a back to school picnic style night. And inevitably it's on a beautiful night and people are running around. It's really just a very lovely, just all of a sudden people start to feel HB being home. So that's what that is. And share the love is just a moment of gratitude, right? It's a gratitude kind of appreciation day, which is so nice too. What about, let me see, a couple other questions. So, when you think about, your lifelong friendships of the people that you've met, I mean, you guys are rising seniors. This is the class of 2022 is looking at it. What do you think your legacy will be? And what will you remember most about your friends? Not about school, but about your friends. Desi, that's a hard question, I know.
Yeah, it is a hard question, but it's a good question though. Well, when I came to HB, I didn't know anyone at all. And so it was interesting to see how accepting people were of me just genuinely. And so I was so happy to find friends who genuinely supported me and allowed me to be myself, like without any judgment. And so friends that genuinely just care about you And I mean, these are friends that I plan on taking with me into the future. So, I mean, I'm just excited, and I'm so blessed to have met friends that now feel like family in a sense. So, yeah.
That's great. How about you, Susie?
I pretty much second everything that Desi says. Like, there are just so many people in this community who are so willing to just see all the good things about you. Like, there is no holding back like who you are. You don't need to pretend to be anyone. Like, you meet so many people who are like you and so many people who are different than you, but everyone is just so accepting, which is probably one of my favorite things about the community. Like, I would love to walk up to pretty much anyone in my class and have a nice, thoughtful conversation with them. Like, pretty much everything Desi said. Like, I want to carry these friends that I meet, because some people you just meet and they're like more than family. Like, they're the people you go to about pretty much anything, which I love so much. People are just so open to you here.
You know, what's fun, I think, if we were to say what's maybe positives about COVID, which there are not many, but it seems that high schoolers appreciate being in school more, right? I think that you really have found that time with your friends as such a precious time. And maybe had you not had that, you wouldn't have that insight about how really truly precious high school is, right? And the friendships that you make here. That's what I see, at least. I will let the other alums and folks on the call know that there are funny things that happened in COVID. One of them is you can't really have detention because you can't really gather people together if you shouldn't gather, right? You're kind of limiting gathering. So why would you do detention? So the dress code really hasn't been too strictly adhered to this year, which is kind of funny. Then the senior skip day, they wanted to skip a day, and it happened to be the only snow day in late April that happened in the last couple of years. So it was senior skip day for everybody. The poor seniors were like, what? No, I think that I just wanted to say they inspired Mother Nature, but a lot of funny little pieces of that. But the preciousness of your friendships, I think, is something that really, at least what I see of your class, really, that's a thing that I think you appreciate probably more than any other HB rising senior, because of what you had to traverse through. So, well, we're coming to a close here. And so we have two choices, and I know what I want, but Desi, there is a question. If you would sing the alma mater. Now that's a lot of pressure on a Saturday at noon, right? And you can say, you know what, let me prepare for next year. I'll take it at that, at which point we'll watch the Vimeo on the Signature for Life program. Or you can give us a thumbs up and be that kind of designated, art student, right? Earning this designation at this next level, but you're in a win-win scenario. So yes or no, thumbs up or thumbs down?
This is a big question. How have you warmed up my voice?
No worries. I'll play the Vimeo.
Okay.
And but we're gonna hold you to it. We might have you actually maybe an alumni treat. We'll hear you sing on something that we'll pass around to alums next year, because your voice is amazing. I get that it needs to be warmed up too. Probably Miss Webster is typing in madly. Please. All right, here we go. Actually, hold on. I'm losing power. I forgot to plug in. So Desi, one more piece of wisdom from Susie and Desi, and I'm going to get my plug, and then I'm going to play Vimeo. So go ahead. Desi, you go first.
A piece of wisdom. Did she say a piece of wisdom, Susie?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Piece of wisdom. Okay. Something that I've learned just in general from HB, I guess, is that it's so important to be a risk taker, in the sense that you shouldn't let fear hold you back. There are a ton of things that when I got to HB, I didn't dream of actually going out for. And it's amazing what the results can be if you just believe in yourself and if you don't let fear hold you back, because there is an entire support system that wants you to do well and is encouraging you to go for everything. So that's my words of wisdom, to just go for it. And just, that's what I've learned.
That's awesome.
On a similar note, I would say something similar. So like one of the things I realized is HB provides just so many opportunities for you to take advantage of. And I've learned that throughout my entire high school career. It's just there are so many things thrown at us, and like I've just learned to just take advantage of all of it, whether it be like just joining a center or just like taking part of like a day competition or joining different clubs. Like I realized do as much as I can because so much of it is enjoyable and you get to meet so many different people throughout it. And everything that I've done beyond academics has definitely even probably been my favorite part about HB. There's just so many opportunities to take advantage of.
Great. Well, Susie, Desi, thank you from my heart for being here, for helping create some insights for our alums and a sisterhood moment. And certainly, I really look forward to your leadership as seniors next year. So I'm going to play right now the Vimeo, which is a little video put together by a company who did some branding for us as to kind of what our signature Learn for Life program is today. What does it look like? And I hope you enjoy it. It's terrific. And Desi and Susie, tell me if you can hear it thumbs up or thumbs down as is, and I can restart it. So let's see if this will go. You hear it? Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today for the State of the School. Thank you, Desi. Thank you, Susie. I really appreciate you here, and Dana and Tina and the advancement team as well. If you're continuing to be interested in a little bit more granular about our DEI Be Belonging kind of program, Tony Cross will be given a 2 o'clock webinar on that. And also don't forget to check out the video. I think it's about 19 minutes long of all the renovations that have been completed thus far. And I really hope you can come back to campus in the near future and see us. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Take care, everyone. Thank you.